Okay, so I appreciate, Councillor Mallett, it's your first meeting of the IJB. Your motion is competent. Your amendment is competent. What I would say is that we try and keep politics out of the IJB. The kind of culture and ethos here is we try and proceed on a collegiate basis. We try and take decisions based on consensus. So we've never really had kind of what you'd call overtly political motions and amendments. Having said that, I say the motion is competent. You're perfectly within your rights to bring it forward. So what I will now do is ask if you've got, do you have a seconder for your amendment? Oh, sorry. Yeah, the seconder has to be a voting member.
So would anybody second me formally to have a healthy debate here?
So I don't think you've got a seconder, so I'm afraid your motion falls because you don't have a seconder. So in which case, I'll be moving the recommendations as per the report. Are we happy to agree that? Agreed. Councillor Mallett?
Thanks very much, convener. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get seconder, which is, of course, a process of democratic system, but I would dissent from the decision because I think we have to be more robust and we have to manage our finances ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, your dissent will be noted. Okay. In which case, that brings us to item 4.3, which is the medium-term financial forecast. And I think it's over to Amy again.
Thanks very much, Chair. The medium-term financial forecast is put forward for members' awareness to understand that we've been preparing this document. We've linked really closely to the drafts, the strategy, which is the paper following. We've looked at what our expenditure profile is going to be like over the next 4 years, using the same assumptions, budget assumptions that we've used for the forthcoming financial year, 25-26 year. What we see in the table of 4.1 is that if we're successful in delivering our 25-26 budget, that in future years the ability to move to a more sustainable financial model is starting to occur. The partner contribution, which would be in effect the additional funding that we would need each year, begins to reduce through focusing on those more positive interventions that we can bring forward, through really focusing on technology, reviewing our infrastructure, really making the changes that we have discussed this morning. That does start to bear fruit, and we can see the impact of that change. The model is based on the strategy that we've brought forward today. I understand that the final strategy will be brought forward to the July meeting. At that point, it will be necessary to update the medium-term financial forecast to fully reflect the future strategic direction of the IJB. So I would look to be presenting the 4-year forecast again, following approval of that strategy in July. And that is very much within the recommendations of the document, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments? Richie?
Yeah, again, thanks for the paper. I just reinforce the discussion from the last paper around that more sustainable move to a more sustainable position over the coming years. This is again helpful just to get that frame. And again, totally recognising that, as it says in the paper, that future likely partner contributions are subject to approval. I'm taking it as read, but it'd be good just to be confirmed that these kind of conversations are also happening with partners, with colleagues, just in terms of that kind of joined up kind of thinking and that whole system approach that's been mentioned a couple of times today. Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. I've got Jonathan here who I've worked with to just get that kind of a level of assurance around future planning for the council model. And I've also spoken to Alex Stephen at NHS Grampian around the future projections as well. And he's comfortable with the presentation in the paper.
Come back.
Thanks very much, and thank you for the report. I suppose it ties in a little bit with the draft strategic plan and how we must ensure that these two run parallel and that annual delivery plans become and I'm going to use the word carefully here, realistic in their outgoings. I think that we've seen this a lot in NHS Grampian, where the expectations of what can be delivered sometimes is huge, and maybe we just can't always get there. So I think we need to stay focused on that, and I'd like to see that transparency coming through on the strategic plan as it comes and works in, again, collaboration with our partners in NHS Grampian. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And I guess we delayed our strategic plan because of the financial position we've been in this year, 23-24. Or 24-25 even, gosh, I'm going back a year, sorry. So yeah, absolutely, we delayed it because of that, because we wanted to make sure that the plan was going to be realistic, that it was sustainable, and that it was something we could absolutely deliver on. And that's why we made that decision, and much to all the hard work Alison had done, then she to start again pretty much with that different lens too. But that was absolutely why. So we want to make sure that we are being realistic on what we can do, and making sure that we can live within the financial envelopes that we've got. So hence why the delay to the strategic plan. And absolutely that delivery plan will be on the to support the strategic plan, will be very mindful of the financial position that we're in, and as you say, absolutely working in collaboration with our partners to ensure that we're making the best decisions, and that we are taking, so we don't have that unintended consequence on them. We've obviously had a lot of learning this year, so yeah, we're absolutely focused on that. Thank you.
Okay, Martin.
Thanks, Chair. Just to ask, when will we see the medium-term financial forecast again? There's mention there of some variables. So the modelling is based on quite a dynamic environment, and we're factoring in some cost pressure increases over the course of the year. Things will change. So will we get an opportunity to have a look again, maybe review, or find out what the up-to-date thinking is on the MTF plan?
Yeah. Thanks very much. The plan would be that we prepare the updated medium-term financial forecast for September. I think I'm very conscious that the strategy is going to be developed during the period to July, and that if we've got changes through consultation process and through presentation, that the finance process would be rushed. I think also that it gives us more insight into the 25-26 position, how we're performing, and we want to make sure that that plan is robust when it comes forward and reflective of future position.
Thank you. I mean, it's a very changing landscape out there, so I think the IJB would want to know how we're monitoring the situation and our budget. So that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, I got Councillor Malik and then Hussein.
Thank you very much, Chair. You say within the report, the strategic plan 2025-2029 is underpinned by the medium-term financial framework. Being able to look at beyond the detailed budget for 2025-26 is crucial to support the IJB future long-term financial sustainability. Would you agree that the medium-term financial framework is reliant on our partner paying for our overspends?
The medium-term financial forecast recognises that we're on a journey to financial sustainability. The paper's based on looking at the integration agreement, and if we aren't able to reach a balanced position in each financial year, what our arrangements are to support the budget of the IJB. What the IJB has been supportive of is that both partners make a financial contribution, and it's on the basis of concluding our 24-25 year, our 25-26 year, using that assumption across the remaining 3 years of the medium-term financial forecast.
Thanks very much, Ms. McDonald. But how long we have to rely on our partner for bail us out? Can we not manage our finances ourselves?
Certainly, we will be reforecasting the medium-term financial framework when we come back in September. I think we need to be realistic around the provision of future financial budgets, and certainly I would always take a prudent view to that. The medium-term financial framework is proposed to protect essential frontline services for the people of Aberdeen City. And that's the framework, that's the basis of the framework that we're taking forward. If there is to be a change in approach, then we can remodel that financially. We can produce a different level of options, but certainly on the basis of the assumptions that we've proposed forward for 25-26, the medium-term financial framework is consistent with that delivery. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what happened if our partner decline our request to bail us out? And what next option available for us?
The integration agreement is very helpful, that it has a number of options within it, that one partner could completely fund the IJB deficit, or it could be two partners together that join together. We're very much an integrated partnership, and the partners have always been really keen to work together, and that is the basis that we've proposed the medium-term financial forecast.
Thank you.
Just
Thanks.
and to give you some reassurance, so we have quarterly performance reviews with both partners, with the NHS and the local authority. So we meet, Amy and I meet with Jonathan and Alex, so the Director of Finance for NHS Grampian, and Jonathan is the Chief Officer of Finance, and also with the Chief Exec. So we've got that regular monitoring with them as well, so they know where we're going through the year, the decisions we're making, the impacts and all the rest of it. So they are very informed about where we are, so we can have that early conversations with them. And as Amy said earlier, we will be continuing to do that budget oversight. So anything that we can start, if anything's going in the wrong direction, we can try and react very quickly to that. So that's going to be really key for us for the next year as well. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shona. Very helpful. But we had a Q2 budget on the 5th of November 2024. where we didn't get any indication that IGB is under financial pressure. And in Q3, all of a sudden, we have seen the statistic, 10 million black hole. So what went wrong? Then we didn't get a head up for that. Oh, this is coming up to the committee that we are having some financial issues.
Convener or Chair, just in respect of that, I think in Q2 reports, we did indicate to Council that there was financial pressure on the IGBs. If I remember correctly, that reporting was in November 2024, before then articulating it further in the Q3 report that came into Council during February 2025. But there was more certainty, there was more clarity, and obviously more passage of time meant that the risk level had increased, and clearly there was limited time in order to address the financial position for 24-25. So I think it was highlighted at that particular point, the fact that I'd relied on in order to inform the Council that we were intending to balance budget was in using all of the reserves that Mrs MacDonald has already referenced during 24-25, but I do think that there was an indication in there that the Council, and in line with what Fiona has just said in relation to the monitoring position, that was aligned to the information that was being provided and discussed with NHS Grampian at that particular point.
Thanks very much, Mr. Belford. My understanding is in Q2, we just had a brief that it will be some kind of financial risk. Can you tell us, did you give us a figure, how much would be?
Chair, I don't think I did give a specific figure. I raised the fact that the risk was there and that we were working through that. And I'm pretty sure, without checking the actual report, but I'm pretty sure we mentioned the fact that the reserves were going to be used or likely to be relied on.
Thanks very much, Jonathan. Through yourself, Chair. So we didn't get figure in Q2, but in Q3 we had figure. So there was some kind of gap between these two quarters that in Q2 we didn't get exact how much we're looking for. All of a sudden we have seen these figures. Anyway, I can move on. What is our policy on the reserves?
Yes, the IJB reserves, the unallocated reserves will be used in full in 24-25 in our current financial year. We have a small amount of reserves remaining that have already been earmarked for other projects, just over £3 million that will carry forward into 25-26. Thank you.
If I can just chip in on the reserves, I think it's 18 out of 31 IJBs across Scotland also took the same decision, i.e. they've used all the reserves. And of the ones that haven't used all the reserves that are left, easy for me to say, are in the order of 1 to, I think in one case, 3 million. So the ones that haven't used all the reserves have got a minuscule amount left.
Thanks very much, Convener, for clarification. About only a few years ago, we were in a much better position. We are leading in relation to in all Scotland. But as you mentioned that my amendment was not supported because it was kind of politics in my amendment. And this committee, we have to be more open and transparent about our finances, which we had experience in Q2. We didn't get statistic and a figure, and then Q3 we had a shock how much we are looking for from our stakeholder. So for transparency, I think it is very important we ask question here and we move amendment. But of course, I will be moving again amendment medium-term financial forecast. So my question in relation to Scottish government. The Scottish government has refused to help us to bail us out. How helpful do you think the response from the Scottish government of you're on your own help with the medium-term financial framework?
So at the IGB we had on the 28th of February, I was asked to write to the Cabinet Secretary, and I've done that. So, and we've got the response back, and the agreement in the integration scheme is that it's our partners that would support us financially. So that is the agreement that's there in the legislation. So that's what we adhere to.
Thanks very much. I thought the Scottish government is responsible about social care as well, but we have to rely on our partner that whenever we are a shortfall, we can just ask NHS Grampian, or we can ask Aberdeen City Council. And of course, NHS Grampian and Aberdeen City Council is underfunded as well. But I'm very worried about this practice, how long time we keep asking our partner that bail us out.
Jonathan?
Just for clarity, Chair, I think the legal mechanism in terms of funding routes are only through our partners. I'm happy that we get clarity if we can on that. I don't think there's actually a direct route which Scottish Government can actually fund straight into an IJB through that route, so they don't have that legal choice. Happy to get that checked, and that the route for funding for the IJB is the product of the two partners, which is obviously NHS Grampian and Aberdeen City Council. So I think those are the routes as Mrs. Mitchell-Hill has already said.
Thanks very much, Jennifer. And Mr. Bedford, sorry. So what discussions have the IGB had with the finance director of Aberdeen City Council? And if you had a discussion, can you confirm his position around the use of reserves?
Certainly, just as part of normal process, I speak regularly with the Chief Finance Officer of Aberdeen City Council and obviously the Chief Finance Officer of NHS Grampian. We speak individually and collectively as a group and kind of how we are progressing forward in this financial year and future financial years. I think it's a really good relationship. I think we're being very clear and transparent around our finances and the current position, and certainly the challenges that we have ahead. And I think it's a really healthy forum, that there's good challenge and that there is the degree of support there, because we're really clear on our future direction. And as I said, it's about protecting those essential frontline services, and we're very fortunate that we have such good relationships and support from our partners in doing that.
Thank you very much, Ms. McDonald. Good relationship, very important to move forward. Can you confirm his position around the use of reserves?
Chair, can I just clarify? I suppose the integration scheme also comes into this in relation to the use of reserves. So the different means by which the IJB can address its financial position if it's in crisis, which obviously in 24-25 has obviously been clearly reported. One of those options, as well as recovery plans, which had been put in place, and some of those actions were taken forward. But the next step is to use the reserves that are available to the IJB. I'm sure that's clarified as one of the particular points. And that, as a result, has been part of the conversations that I, along with the Director of Finance at NHS Grampian and Ms MacDonald have been having, has been about then what does that leave for the council? And I think we articulated that as clearly as possible, certainly back to the council as part of the Q3 report. And if I look back at the Q2 report, although I don't mention a particular figure, I do stress just how significant the risk is for the IJB likelihood of overspending in 24-25 when we were there. But I think the reserves position is very much clarified by the integration scheme and is a means to mitigate the contribution that partners would have to make.
Thanks very much, Chair. Maybe my last question. So we can rely on our partner. They can rescue us if we are having some financial issues. And we can use all of our reserves. And we can just keep doing this practice of overspend. But can we not control our finances ourselves instead of just overspend?
It's possible in any budget that you can reduce your expenditure to fit within the funding you receive. I think our budget's been really carefully considered so that we protect people in the delivery of our finances going forward. And in essence, we've been really well supported. It's not a case of we're not taking the right actions in order to make progress around our financial position. It's during the course of any change, which is what we're going through just now. Sometimes additional support is really necessary to protect the business as usual activity. As an organisation just now, we're running at full capacity. So it's important that delivery of services, particularly to vulnerable people, can still be supported financially. And I think everybody has worked really hard on that agenda. And that really is the essence behind the budget paper that we've brought forward, and indeed the medium-term financial forecast. I think the medium-term financial forecast is a really positive document, that it does illustrate that the actions that we're now looking to take, and we're, if you like, spending more time and effort on, do lead to a better financial position in the longer term. But through that period of change, we need to make sure that we still continue to support people with their health and care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. MacDonald. I think I maybe just leave. Thank you.
Mark?
Thank you, Chair. I think I'd like to point out this is a partnership that we're working with NHS Grampian. We're here to provide healthcare for our citizens of Grampian, and that budget overspends will potentially come about when clinical care has to be delivered to our patients. I think that's the bit that I think we need to focus on. I think that NHS Grampian is in a similar situation, and there's always a balance between financial governance, clinical governance, and that balance is always difficult to strike. And therefore, as challenging as it is, I think the partnership working is the one we have to stress that we move forward with. So I don't see it as NHS Grampian bailing out the IJB. I see this as a partnership relationship that we're trying to deliver healthcare. It's just a statement more than anything else. Thank
you. Okay, Hussein?
Thank you very much. And can I firstly just echo the comments that we just heard from Mark there. I think this is an emotive time, and I think care is exercised in the use of language. I think that's something important for everyone to bear in mind. Can I also just correct an oversight on my part? I just want to thank Amy for all the work that she's done with the budget. I didn't mention that in my last question, so apologies for that, but it's very much appreciated, and also the way in which you've compiled the tables. just as a curiosity, can I turn to section 3.2, if I may, and the assumptions that have been used? I'm just wondering, for those of us that are maybe not quite as financially minded, if you could give some historical or context around where the 3% assumptions come from in terms of cost pressure and income, please. I'm just curious as to where that comes from and what the basis is for considering that as a continuum going forward.
Thank you. The 3% applies across our pay and our non-pay budgets, and certainly the Scottish Government guidance this year is the pay award that we're budgeting at is at that 3% level. The 3% across the non-pay budgets, it comes from, if you like, the general inflation that we see in the economy. The target that the Bank of England have is 2% for inflation. They can see significant fluctuations at the moment. The world is a little more volatile since President Trump came into power, and I think that the managing around that would mean that we wouldn't necessarily want to go up the future prediction at the Bank of England. We just have to be a little bit prudent around that. So whilst there's always ups and downs, we want to manage within that 3% non-pay inflation as well.
Thank you very much. And I think you make an important point there around giving ourselves that additional headroom in the event of future headwinds. So thank you for that.
Okay, any more questions, comments? Not seeing any. The only other thing I'd add on the back of Mark's comment is that in terms of managing our budget, there are some things that we can't control because we've got statutory responsibilities. So for an example of that would be social care costs, if some which across Scotland as a whole have increased by 17%, over the last 2 years. And if someone presents and is assessed as being in need of high or urgent social care, we can't not deliver that because we're in breach of our statutory duties if we do. So yeah, some of what we're looking at is inherently unpredictable in a different way from the way the council does its budgets. As a council, we could decide not to fill any potholes. I might get some rude emails if we did that, but you could theoretically do that, but you can't deny social care to people who've got a statutory right to it. So that's the only thing I could say. So if there are no more questions, can we agree the recommendations?
Convener, I have an amendment, can be circulated, and I would again be grateful if somebody can formally second me. Thank you.
Okay, if we can circulate that, we'll take a 5-minute recess just to take a wee look at it.